Hello, this is Ross with DragTheBar.com, and today I will be playing two tables of 100 no limit 6 max. So I just sat at the tables, haven't sat in yet, but gonna sit in at both tables right now. And looks like this table will be starting heads up against Daniela 249, as the other player who they were playing with just busted. So we'll see if Daniela gives me any heads up action here. Queen 6, I'm going to open that hand. Okay, I have a lot of hands on this here. On Danielle, looks like they play very tight 12-9, so I don't have filters set or anything, so I'm not positive those could be full ring stats, but even if it is full ring, that's still very, very tight. So I'm just going to assume this player low 3-bet percentage as well. So I'm just going to assume this player plays very tight, which is a good player to be playing against heads up. Probably not going to put me on any tough spots. Probably going to be able to steal a lot from the button heads up. Doesn't look like they're going to. They probably won't be adjusting well to the short-handed game. So I call my open here, and I don't flop anything, but I'm going to a continuation bet if I'm checked to. Okay, they lead into me, so I'm just going to fold 3-4 here. Not going to play back with that hand in that spot. And I just was able to post my big blind on the other table. Opened, and I'm going to fold Queen 3 suited here. I'll be opening queens here I picked up on the table to the right, heads up. If you've watched my previous videos, I had previously been opening one in the small blind and folded to me. When I'm opening, I was opening a little bit bigger. It was 3.5 times. I've decided to just change that to a 3 times open. Been working with that. I find that it's a little bit less exploitable against better players. It might cause them to take a few more flops in position against you, but felt I was giving up a little more when getting 3-bet in that spot to the big blind, so I decided to just open up a little bit to my normal size when I'm going to be playing a pot in position. And against Daniela here, I'm pretty much going to be opening any 2 cards, probably even 7 deuce offsuit, just because they play so tight and don't play back at me until they show me that they're going to play back at me. I'll be opening any 2 cards. Jack 9, I'll take a flop here to the min open. And I'll check. And checks it back. So here I'm just going to bet $3 into the $4 pot. So I feel I have the best hand almost always there. And as you can see, I'm getting a lot of folds when I open the button. I'm going to lay out my stats too for this session in case you don't know. This is Holdem Manager I'm using, and just point the mouse here. This is VPP, pre-flop raise, aggression factor. On the bottom row, it's 3-bet percentage, fold to 3-bet percentage, and then just number of hands played. So here I'll be opening Queen 6 offsuit on the button. Don't have any reads here on this buddy 31 who ended up just joining the table, so we'll see if we can figure out how they play. I get 3-bet here to my button open. I'll be folding Queen 6. Alright, buddy cold called the 3-bet, so that's probably a good sign that I'm going to be wanting to play with this guy. And I have direct position on him too. Okay, he donks the ace king 7 flop, and got a quick fold from the 3-better. Be opening ace jack here under the gun. Table to the left. And just going to make my open here with king deuce in the small blind. And get called. I'm just going to make a standard size continuation bet. There's a 4-9 jack flop. I get called. So here my under the gun open got 3-bet, so I'm just going to fold ace jack there. Here I picked up a draw on the turn, so I'm going to continue firing at it. Hope to take it down, but if I don't take it down, I'm still going to have outs. And 10 peels off on the river, so I am going to fire this river. About 2/3, a little over 2/3 of the pot. I think it's an okay bluff card, and I did get a fold. So I think I am going to get looked up there a decent amount of the time. I don't think a jack is folding very often, but I might be able to get a 9 to fold there. Might be able to get like queen 10, king 10 to fold there. So I think it's an okay bet, just because there's no other way I'm going to win the pot. I'm not going to win the pot by giving up, so decided to bet there. Pick up queen 5 in the big blind. I'm going to fold queen 5 here to the min raise from the button. Fold jack 5 here to the button open. Table on the left, I think I just said that. I'm going to try to find a different one to play, because looks like we have a lot of regs at that table. Queen 3 I might open here, but the big blind is kind of playing a lot of hands, so I don't want it to play queen 3 against him very often. It'll be opening here on the cutoff with ace 7 suited. Queen 8 hearts here. I'm going to fold that one to the button open. And I did get called here by Miriasa, opening 5-6 offsuit here. I'm going to continuation bet with my top pair top kicker here, my ace 7 suited, into the dry low flop. Alright, I get 3-bet again by Danielle. So Danielle seems to be playing not as tight as I originally thought. I think I've been 3-bet a couple times so far. It seems to be defending versus my my opens as well. So maybe they are adjusting. Maybe my sample size is from full ring games, and it's just a little bit biased on the tight side. Here I'd continuation bet the ace 2-3 flop, and against him I think he's probably going to be peeling the churn with, you know, any decent heart. Definitely any ace, so I'm just going to check and give up on this hand here. I'm not going to try to win the pot on the turn or the river. And he bets big on the river. I'm going to fold. Okay, I picked up king 7 suited here in the big blind, and it looks like we have a dead post. So if it does fold around to me, I'm going to raise it up to 4 times. And if somebody opens here, I'm probably gonna, there's a decent chance I'm gonna 3-bet, because that would be a great spot to isolation open. Alright, it does fold around to me, and I'm just gonna make my open and probably take that down most of the time. No, he does end up calling. Continuation bet on the right where I opened 8-9, and I'm actually gonna check this king high flop here, just because I don't have any reads on this player. And wow, he makes a big slight over bet into the pot, and I have second pair with not really any kicker. But I'm gonna take at least one card here. Turns an offsuit, or a 4 brings a flush draw. A flush draw really isn't very important, but 24. Okay, I'm kind of confused as to what he has here. Kind of put myself in this spot by just check calling the flop. Let me see if I'm going to see if I have time to look up this player on my table ratings real quick. See if I can find out anything about if he's one opening player. Oh, that's... I mean, he's repping a real narrow range, but at the same time, my hand isn't very strong. Okay, my table ratings isn't even working. I'm going to call this bet here, take another card, and hit my perfect river card here. And I think if I'm ahead here, alright, I'm going to be ahead here. Can't see him having anything that has me beat at this point, but I'm just going to continue to let him bluff like I've been hoping he's doing, and he bets, so I'm going to look it up here. And he has Jack 8, so I do think I played the hand perfectly there. I mean, by checking the flop, turn, and river, he was not going to be calling any bets. Here I was called two ways. I was so concentrated. On the table on the right, I'm going to make a value bet here. A little over half the pot with my rivered under full house. Try to get some value from a king. Maybe even a flush that this player might slow play. A couple streets. And I do get called down. Called down by ace high. Alright, here with 10-7 suited, I'm going to be opening a small blind. And I get 3-bet again. This player seems to be pretty 3-bet happy, and I'm going to make a small 4-bet here from 9 to 21. See if I can take this one down, and I do end up taking it down. I remember he 3-bet me the last time that I opened here. He's got a high 3-bet percentage of 7.4, so he's going to be 3-betting my small blind opens pretty light, which opens it up for me to make a small 4-bet bluff here. Alright, been 3-bet a few times already here, and I'm just going to keep folding until I get a real hand. Can't be defending with King 8. Here it's limped. I would almost fold here sometimes, but I don't have a big read on this guy. I'll open this one up just so I can play a pot. I don't think it's bad to fold there. Not bad to isolation open either. With ace 10 offsuit. Just going to keep opening my small blind here. Even though I've been getting 3-bet a lot. Get called again. Make my continuation bet. It's a pretty dry flop. Well, there's some draws, but it's a flop that's not going to hit his range very often. He's not going to be calling with a whole lot of 4s and 3s there. At least I don't think. So really he's going to have a jack there to be calling the flop unless they're floating a lot of flops. Okay, here where I ISO raise, I'm going to continuation bet 2, 5, 6, double suited flop. Hope to take this down. This probably isn't a board that I'm going to be multi-street bluffing on. Okay, it turns a 5 of diamonds. So at this point, I'm going to put him on, maybe a pocket pair like 3s or 4s, maybe even 7s, 8s, 9s. I would see players doing like this. I just don't think I'm going to get a fold often enough to keep firing at the board. So I'm just going to check. River's a 4, and I'm just going to give up on this hand. I'm not going to be putting any more money into the pot and giving this one up. And he has King 6, so I'm just going to put a note on him that he limp calls with King 6 suited under the gun. So this table actually looks like it's going to be pretty decent now that I've seen that. I'm going to open queens here in the cutoff. And I'll be folding 7-9 here to the cutoff raise. Seven, 9 here. I'll be opening this hand on the button if it folds to me, but it's opened ahead of me, so I'm just going to be folding that hand. And I do get called by this player who played King 6 last hand. Flop comes Ace 3-5 rainbow. So they lead into me for $2. Generally, when a bad player does this and I have a medium strength hand, I'm just gonna go and start calling. I mean, they can do that with a lot of hands that I beat, hands that Alright, here they checked me on the turn. I don't think checking back is that bad, but I'm gonna make a bet here just to charge, you know, any gut shot straight draws they have, possibly. Although I do think when I get called there, I'm probably not ahead. Still want to charge any possible draws and just take down the pot if I can. River's a jack of hearts, which makes a lot of hands. He leads for $4 into 22. I don't think I'm good here that often, but I'm gonna call down, expecting to be beat most of the time. But if anything, I'll be able to just get a read on the way this guy's playing hands by seeing what he shows up with. Okay, he shows up with King 7. So I can make another note on this guy that calls raise in the big blind with King 7 offsuit and leads 1/3 of the pot. I'll be opening Queen 9 here. Leads for 1/3 of the pot on an Ace 2 5. I think that was rainbow board. Check calls a king. Churn small lead jack river. Another option I have there is to raise the river to his weak bet, and if I'm doing that, I don't really ever expect him to be folding an ace there. Here I just decided to check back the Queen 9 hand. I don't decided not to continuation. Board's kind of wet. There's straight draw, flush draws. A lot of times we're going to be playing a king, so just decided not to take a stab at that pot. As far as the king 7 hand goes, I could have tried bluff raising the river, and I probably would have gotten him to fold that hand there. But really, all I'm going to get to fold by bluff raising the river there is maybe a weak a king or so. I don't think he's going to fold an ace there often enough to bluff, and at the same time, I'm going to beat anything besides an ace or a king. So I just don't think it's a great spot to bluff. I was able to get a little more of a read on him, confirming my read that he's not a good player by calling with King 7 pre-flop, just as he had limp called with King 6 suited earlier. So he's definitely going to be a target of mine at this table. Okay, I pick up Queen 6 suited here on the button, so it's limped again by this player, and I'm going to want to be isolate raising him with a lot of hands. If I had like a suited connector, say there, I'd definitely be ISO raising, but I don't think that Queen 6 suited there is strong enough to be ISO raising, just because it's not going to play. It's not going to flop big hand often enough, and it's not like he's playing every single hand. He's only played 29% so far, so he is a bit selective in the hands he's limping. He's not just limping any trash hand. Here I pick up Ace 7, and it's only $1, and I'm closing the action, so just gonna call with it and make sure I'm careful post flop not to make any big mistakes with it. I mean, that's almost a hand there with the Ace 7 that I think you could fold to, but I think getting that price, it's okay to call for $1 more into what's going to be an $8 flop on the pot. You're just going to have to, unless I flop, you know, maybe 2 pair or trips, I'm really not going to be looking to put a lot of money into the pot. Okay, here I pick up Jack 9 suited. I think I'll open this one. Again, folding is fine here with Jack 9, but you got a bad player limping a lot of hands. I can try to isolate and play up a pot in position against him, so I'll be opening Jack 9 suited here. Only problem with opening too light, opening a lot of hands, isolating against the limpers, is you're going to be opening yourself up to be getting 3-bet light by regs. who will notice that you're opening light, and then in turn will start 3-betting you pretty light. So I do get called here by the small blind, who I think could probably play, maybe any pocket pair like that, maybe stronger aces. So the flop comes down, brings me a jack high flush draw and a queen high flop, and I'm going to be continuation betting the flop. Bet $7.50 into the $12-13 pot, so it's just over half the pot. And hoping to take it down now, but if I don't, I think I can keep playing the pot. Alright, so here I churn a pair, and I do think I'm going to be good here a decent amount of the time. I mean, we've seen this guy limp. I'm going to bet 14, which is just about half the pot here. We've seen this guy limp with King 6 type hands, which he could definitely play like that again and check call the flop. So I'm just going to keep betting for value here with my turn pair of jacks. Plus, if I don't have the best hand, I still am going to have a lot of ways to make the best hand on the river. I think a bet there is good. Not a huge bet, but I think a half pot bet there is fine. I think making a bet that might get called even by a hand like King 6. Who knows, he might fold King 6 here, he might fold Ace 6 there. But I think making a bet like that, where you're going to get called by worse and you're already have a good draw, is going to be a good play. So here I river my backdoor 2 pair, and I'm going to bet again. Bet 25, which I don't think he's ever really going to be folding a queen to that bet size, and hope to get paid off. I'm really hoping here just for a call though, because if he raises, it's going to put me in a tough spot. If he raises here, I probably would have to fold to the raise, just because I don't see a player like this getting aggressive often at all without, and then I say that and he min raises me. Now that said, it's a min raise, and I'm getting such a good price that I have seen players here try to bluff. And if I am beat, I expect to see maybe a slow played set, or maybe Queen 9 or something on the river. I definitely have to call just the min raise here though, and hope that my hand is good. Nope, he actually backdoored his nut straight. So, well, good thing the flush didn't hit, but he still got a lot of my stack there. So I don't think there's anything really to note about that hand. He limp called with King 10 suited, which is going to be his standard play, and then ends up backdooring 2 cards that make me 2 pair that also makes him the nut straight. Can make a note that he does check min raise, river, nut straight. If he were to check shove there, I think I probably would have found a fold, but the min raise there, I mean, it could have even possibly been a smaller 2 pair, so I don't think I can ever fold to a bad player there who's going to min raise me. Okay, I haven't been talking much about what's been going on the table on the right. I haven't really gotten any playable hands there. Here I pick up 6s in the big blind, and the button ISO opens after the limper. I'm paying 3 more to see a flop here. Player's not full stack, but since I'm in the big blind, it's only going to cost me 3 more to try to hit my set on the flop. Flop is ace, ace, 4. So it did not hit my hand. I'm probably just going to be check folding here. Okay, the limper decides to, I'm going to be folding Queen 10 offsuit here under the gun. Limper decides to lead into the flop, and the original raiser actually folds. So actually under this circumstance, I'm going to take a churn card and check 3 of spades, which falls on the churn. Be check calling that card and a 4 on the river. He overbet shoves, and I don't think I'm ahead here very often at all, so at this point I'm just going to fold. Probably had an ace. No, he showed six. He showed a bluff. Queen 7. Okay, so I got bluffed. Put a note on this player. Limp calls. Queen 7 offsuit. Small lead on ace 3. Flop. Bet small on a 4 turn, and then shove for it was a little more than a pot size bet on what river was that? Another 3 river. So we know in the future if that person's making a play at a pot, that there's a good chance they could be bluffing after showing that bluff. And if I was playing a competent player, you might think that they're showing that bluff to set up, they're going to have it next time. Well, a player that's limp calling with Queen 7 offsuit's probably not even thinking about that, so there's a good chance that it's just a fishy player that's going to like to bluff a lot. So here I pick up 9-5, had the auto fold, so I just folded that out of the big blind. I pick up 4-8 offsuit here on the button, which I will be folding. This hand's opened under the gun by what looks like a pretty tight player so far, so I'll be folding King Jack here in the small blind. Pick up Queen 10 offsuit here on the table on the left, and I will be opening this hand. And I'm able to steal the blinds there. Looks like our fish busted on this table on the right. They somehow flopped 2 pair, and then the pre-flop raiser must look like they runnered the nut straight by the river and busted well, one of the fish at this table. There's still a couple more. Right as I say that, this one sits out. So game's getting back to a little more short-handed, 4-handed table. It looks like this person's playing a lot of hands, so there's definitely still one fish left here. Who limps a small blind and bets pot into a flop that I did not hit a piece of. King A offsuit, I pick up here in the small blind. Min open, won't be playing. I've seen that this Daniela here has been using different open sizes, both the 3 times and then the min open, and it has nothing to do with stack sizes pre-flop, because at the start of this hand everyone was pretty much full stacked to I mean, this person's only playing 70, but that's no reason to vary the opening size. So I'm gonna take a guess that when Daniela min opens, that at least you can probably take really strong hands out of their range, because just because of the varying open size, and I would think that with the really strong hands, they would be opening to 3 times instead of 2 times. It looks like Buddy 31 sat back in here, so we got another fish. We actually have position on 2 fish here, which is probably the best seat at this table here on the right. I really wanted to see what Daniela had that hand, because it played out kind of strangely with them checking back the flop, then raising the turn, overbetting the river, but I wasn't able to see a showdown. So here I'm going to isolation open to 4 times on the button after the dead post by Buddy 31. I'm able to take that one down. Ace 7 here in the cutoff. I'll be opening this one if it folds to me, but that's not likely with the two high VPP players out ahead of me. So we'll see what happens here. Fold. It's opened by Buddy 31. I'm just going to be folding Ace 7 here to the open. Even though it's good to be playing a lot of hands in position against fish, I don't find that Ace 7 suited is going to play all that well against his opening range, just because he doesn't open that often. He'll be playing a lot of hands, but only 15% open, so he's not opening a whole lot. And by calling there, it opens me up to being squeezed by either the button or the blinds there, and just find overall it's better to just probably be folding against him. 6-2 here, be folding that hand. And 7-10 under the gun, I won't be playing that hand either. I'm going to open another table and keep it off to the side and just sit at it alone and see if I can get if anyone sits with me. And if they do, I'm probably going to be leaving the table on the left, even though there is the one fish here. The table's playing pretty slow. It seems like there's a lot of multi-tablers, and it's taking, it seems like over a minute for every hand that's played. So I'm not really getting a whole lot of good discussion, at least on that one table. Then you have Danielle at this table here taking forever on each pre-flop action. Alright, I get Queen 8 here in the big blind. So let's fold it around to the small blind, who is just going to limp, and I think it's okay here to raise, but I'm just going to check. See a flop here. Alright, he checks. I'm going to bet $1.40 into a $2 pot with my gut shot, and I'm able to take that down. He just check folded the flop. And 5-7 offsuit here. I will not be playing that hand at all. 4-8 here, there's a limper, and I flop top pair on a very dry board. I'm just going to fire out for a little under the size of the pot, hope to take it down, and we'll be firing this churn too. There's a lot of turns that I would probably not be firing, but Jack is a decently safe turn. Chances are, if I have the best hand on the flop, that I still have it on the turn, and I get min raised, so just gonna fold. Last time he min raised me, he had the nuts, so I'm not gonna be playing back at that. It's just betting that turn there, just because if I did have the best hand on the flop, the Jack isn't very likely to help him. I just want to protect my hand against the many draws that are out there on that board. So the tight player here opens under the gun to 3 times, and I will be calling here in the small blind with 5s, pretty much looking to flop a set against what's going to be a pretty tight opening range from a personal. I mean, I only have 34 hands on him, so it's not a huge sample, but so far he seems to be playing pretty tight, so I'm going to guess that he has a pretty tight opening range here. It's a 4 flush, and I have a set. I was going for the check raise on the flop. I whiffed. So by the river, I think maybe I can get a value from a king, so I'm just going to bet my 5s here. I think betting here is better than check calling a bluff. And you know, he's not going to be folding a spade, but then again, I think he can call with maybe a king, maybe even a queen. So just be making a value bet. If he raises the river there, I'm obviously not going to be playing the hand with the 4 spades out there, especially against a tight player. I don't think he'd be bluff raising that river very often. And I'm looking at the hand history, and I got called by a queen there. So I was getting called there by queens or kings. And he had a queen 10 of diamonds actually. So I mean, this isn't like a huge note, but since I'm kind of bored at the moment, I'm just going to put a note that he does open queen 10 suited under the gun in a 6 max table. Alright, looks like we lost both of our fish here on the table on the right. I didn't even see that happen. And picked up a half stacking reg and then another reg, so I'm going to be 3-betting from 3 to 7, which I find is fine to 3-bet a lot smaller than you would against a full stack player when you're playing against a half stacker here, just because effective stack sizes are so much smaller. So I can be 3-betting him later. So here I'm gonna bet a third of the pot on the flop, and my reasoning for this is I think that it gives him room to maybe make a bluff raise, which I can shove over. And I'm gonna check the 3 offsuit turn, and he checks it back too. So the river, I think I'm just gonna give up here. Don't think I can fold get a fold very often with a bet. Maybe an overbet would work, but alright, so he shows 8-9. I didn't expect him to be playing that hand. Make a note that opens button and call small 3-bet with 8-9 suited. And that's not really a hand that he should be playing with a half stack, in my opinion, against most 3-betting ranges. But I don't know, a lot of times these players aren't very good anyway. It's probably why he's playing the half stack, because he can't win playing a full stack. So I did pick up heads up action on the table that I sat at. That's off the screen. So as soon as the blinds get around on this table on the right, actually I'm just going to swap the table out right now. I'm going to sit out on the blinds get to me there, but bring in the new table. Try to fit it right into this screen area here. Be opening queen 6 here on the button. Get called by the small blind and the big blind as well. So I flop middle pair here and get min led into, and I'm just going to raise it up just because I do think I have the best hand here a decent amount of the time, and there's a lot of churn cards that are going to be bad there, so I just want to try to take it down right away if I can. Looks like a good table so far. Have a couple players with high VPPs, another player who just bought in for $81 here, and then this want to win cash who I have a note on says called my button open in the big blind with king 10 suited, and check raise a 7-4 10 diamond flop from 4 to 12, and that was also at 100 no limit. So the read I have on this want to win cash is that he's probably a pretty good player, just because of the fact that he's I find that a lot of bad players are not very aggressive at all, when they make hands. But the fact that he would check raise, a 10 high flop after calling out of position with king 10 shows that he's decently aggressive with his made hands. So it's going to be a little harder to read a player like that, but the rest of the table looks very good for a 100 no limit table, so definitely going to stay at this table. I've also played with this want to win cash as far as I can remember at 400 through 100 stakes the last few days, so he moves around stakes a lot, just like I do. Here I pick up 8s in the big blind. I'm just going to call the small blind open from red or go. He bets just about full pot on a jack high dry board, and definitely going to call with my middle pair. Alright, he checks the churn. Now gonna make a 2/3 pot size bet here with my 8s, and able to take that one down. Now on that hand, I don't think that I'm getting called a whole lot by worse hands. Maybe a 7 will check call that churn, but I still think it's worth betting because checking behind just puts you gives them a chance to, you know, hit a possible overcard. And I think just betting is overall a better line to take when you're in that spot with pretty much any hand that you're going to get there with, even if it's like a medium strength hand where you're not exactly going to be able to stand a big check raise, or you know, you're not sure that you're going to be ahead when check call. I still think betting is definitely a better option in that spot. Okay, so I pick up 2-4 suited here on the button, and gets limped. I'm definitely not going to be ISO raising with 2-4 here. And here it's bet and 3-bet in front of me. By a smaller stack, I'll be folding king queen out of the small blind. Okay, looking at my cashier here, I think I'm just about even on the session, maybe up like $3 or $4. I forgot exactly where I started, but been a pretty break-even session for me so far. I haven't had a whole lot of big pots. The one I was involved in was the Jack 9, where we both flopped flush draws. I turned the pair, rivered 2 pair that rivered his straight. So as far as I can remember, that was really the only big pot I was in, and I don't think it was really a tough pot to play at all. Oh, there was the other one earlier, I remember, where I flopped second pair on an ace king 4 flop and got the guy to 3-barrel bluff all in with jack 8 by check calling. Yeah, I think what am I trying to say? I didn't have any reads on the player who I got to bluff off his stack to me in that hand, and I think he posted a dead blind. I tried to pick it up by making a raise in the big blind when it folded around to me. He called. Flop was ace king 4, a flop that looks like it probably hit me, but at the same time I didn't have a very strong hand, and when I bet and am called there, if I bet and am called, I'm not gonna really have the best hand ever there. So I decided to go for a check call line. I remember he overbet the pot on the flop, which scared me a little bit, but at the same time I thought that if he had a real strong hand there like ace king, he probably would have just raised himself pre-flop. So I called the flop bet. Churn was a 4, which is actually a good card for me because it decreases the chance of him having a set of 4s. So he pretty much never has a set after the 4 churns, and he bet near the pot again, which in that spot is pretty much always going to be, you know, it's never going to be like a weak ace or even a hand like ace jack. I felt that at that point in the hand he was either on air, a hand like jack 8 or just some random hand, or else he did have a big hand at that point, which would have been like what I felt could have been in his range. That would have been a big hand there, would have been ace 4, which would have been a full house, or else possibly pocket 4s for quads, are really 2 of the only big hands that I could put in his range at that point that would bet like that. And also, I think if he had churned like a full house or quads, I really doubt that he'd have been betting so big. You know, he'd probably be trying to fishy player like that who's posting and then calling would probably try to lure me in with a smaller bet. So I really felt that I did have the best hand there most of the time with my kings, and the river made it easy for me to just check call because I basically had the nuts on the river. But had that river not come, I probably still would have called. Had the river blanked out, I probably still would have taken the check call river line, just because I couldn't really ever put him on a big hand unless it's maybe ace 4, or like I said before, quads. So that was my reasoning behind taking that line in that hand. Okay, I didn't even see how this hand played pre-flop, but I'm going to put a note that he raised a 9, 10, 10 suited flop from 11 to 26, fold to all in for 28 more. That's a good read to have on a player. I'll find that a lot of these players, even the bad players nowadays, are trying to get more aggressive, trying to raise you off hands. And the thing is, a lot of times the spot that they'll find where they will try to raise you off of a hand is, you know, the worst kind of spots to do it, when the board is pretty say like a 9 9 10. Even though it's suited, it has a lot of draws, it's a hand that at that point that it's either, you know, he's trying to rep, you know, a big hand there, which not a lot of hands that you play pre-flop are going to hit a big hand on that flop. So I find a lot of these guys try to raise those paired board flops, and you can just shove over them, you know, with ace high and be good 90% of the time. Well, maybe not 90% of the time, but most of the time when they're doing that. I've definitely shoved over those small raises on paired boards with ace high and taken down the pot. You know, they'll fold, raise to 26, and then fold with only 28 more on their stack, which he just did. I'm going to see how this hand just played out on the table on the left. I didn't see pre-flop, but I did see that on the turn that it was aces versus king queen, the turn 2 pair. The aces actually had a nut flush draw, but the king queen held. So be opening king 10 offsuit here. We lost the fish at this table, so I'm going to stay, but see if I can find a different table to play at. Legend raises. Okay, well, I'm going to be folding king 10 here to his button 3-bet. I'm going to make a note on decon here after. Okay, I'm going to make a note on decon here that he opened king queen offsuit under the gun and called a 3-bet from the big blind, which I think is pretty bad play to make in general. Even though this guy's 3-bets decent amount, I still think it's bad play to be opening and then calling a 3-bet with king queen when you're playing under the gun in a 6-handed game, just because your range is should be pretty narrow there for opening under the gun. I just don't think under the gun opens get 3-bet light often enough to justify defending with king queen there. But he did it, and he actually ended up turning 2 pair and winning the pot. I'm gonna sit with actually, I think I've been going at this video for about 50 minutes now, so I think this point I'm probably just going to wrap it up instead of opening a new table. So I didn't really get in too many super interesting spots, but I do think that that there were a couple interesting spots, and I was able to, if nothing else, develop some reads on players, even if I wasn't involved in any big pots with them, just by observing the way they play in some other pots, in pots against other players. So what I'm gonna do now is click the sit out button. Maybe I'll pick up a big hand and win a big pot right before. But as it stands right now, I think I'm just about even on the session. Can't remember exactly what I started with, but I think I'm maybe up $2, down $2, something real close to that. I'll open up Holdem Manager and look at my session graph as soon as the blinds get around to me and I stop the video recording, or as soon as I am done, blinds get around to me and I'm done with all my hands at the tables. Done with the table on the left now. Okay, sit out both tables and no, go to Holdem Manager, Graphs, and then this session. Okay, let me just size this down. It looks like I lost $3.35 over 138 hands in this session. So here's my Holdem Manager graph. I think this here at the beginning was yeah, that's not very interesting. This here at the beginning was the hand with the King 7 where I check called all three streets. Was winning up a little over a buy-in, and then the big hand that I lost was the Jack 9 versus King 10 where he rivered the straight. So nothing I could really do about that. I don't think I should have folded to the check min raise. I mean, I think I was getting more than 4 to 1. I'm gonna definitely have the best hand there, often enough to be calling with the 2 pair. I really didn't see how he could get there with the King 10 unless he had exactly King 10 of clubs. But only other hands I really could see him having there that beat me were maybe Queen 9. Maybe a slow played Jack Queen or a flop set, but definitely think that I've even seen players like that who miss a draw or who just maybe have a pair of 6s or something that he knows isn't good, make that raise on the river just to try to take it down, knowing that the only way they can win the hand is bluffing. But yeah, that was my session. Didn't really win any money, but I did think I found some pretty interesting spots. So hopefully you enjoyed my video. This was my first 100 no limit video. My other 2 that I have out are 200 no limit videos. I definitely think I found some good spots in those. So if you're watching this one and haven't seen those yet, definitely check out the 200 no limit videos. And I do plan on probably making a couple more 100 no limit videos, maybe even some more mid-stakes videos, 600 or 400, so watch out for those too. But thanks for watching my video. This is Ross with DragTheBar.com signing out. Goodbye.